On this episode of the Late Stoppage
I
podcast,
want everybody, because you have some doubts on Haney too. I can hear it in your voice. You doubt Haney too, Ian.
I mean, yeah, I do doubt Haney a little. I do doubt that chin out. You want to be 100% honest here? I thought he lost to Loma. I thought Haney lost.
You scored that fight in Loma's favor.
I did.
Okay.
7-5. 7-5. That's crazy. A lot of people did.
There's the right hand! He just answered the question!
What is going on, my guys? We are back on the Late Stoppage podcast. It is your co-host, Jerry Jig. I appreciate all the support on the last two episodes. Today, we want to skim over some few topics. I'm here with my other co-host, Mr. Ian Green of Top Boxing News.
Yeah, Haney versus Norman, that card for November is getting, looks like it's, stacking up pretty well. You got the, just a lot of topics in boxing right now that we got to cover. So let's get into it.
Yeah, man. I wanted to open up today with the Haney Norman, right? We couldn't touch on it in the last episode. We kind of got carried away with Jake Paul and his antics. So Haney Norman, Haney's official 47-pound debut. I'm going to let you talk about it first because I feel strongly about Haney. As you guys probably know, I'm going to go off on my little yap rant session. So I'm going to let Ian touch on it first. What's your initial breakdown, initial thoughts of this matchup, Haney's debut?
Yeah, so, it's an interesting fight because at first glance, it seems like a dangerous one for Devin Haney, I know Ryan Garcia had the Austrian in his system and all that stuff, but Haney did get cracked with the left hand a lot. He got put down multiple times. And if you're going just off what you've done for me lately, I think Norman opens as a favorite, but are you doing what have you done for me lately or what have you done for me in total? I was at a fight in March of 2024 when Brian Norman fought Janelson Figueroa, I believe is the guy's name. Norman got put down face first from a right hand in round one. And that went to a no contest because there was a big cut that opened up. But I'm going to be honest, if that didn't go to a no contest, it looked like it wasn't going Norman's way. So let's not act like there are no chinks in the armor of Brian Norman either. Last performances, Brian Norman's coming off arguably the KO of the year. Haney's coming off one of the most unentertaining fights of the year. If you're going off what you've done for me lately, it's Brian Norman's fight. But, man, I think it's a very intriguing clash of styles. It seems like a very dangerous fight for Devin Haney to take. Out of all the champions, I think Brian Norman is the most tough fight. And, yeah, just opening up, I can't really pick like a favorite. I think I'm just very questioning where Haney's at right now. Is he the Haney we know who fought Regis Prograis, or is he the Haney we know that fought Ryan Garcia? And I believe Brian Norman is a very good, young power puncher who can explode and is very athletic. But it's no question we've never seen him go up against a fighter like Devin Haney. And I do think we've seen Devin Haney go up against fighters who are similar to Brian Norman. So Haney has the experience edge, and Haney's still young, so it's not like he doesn't have the youth edge as well. I guess if I had to open up with like a favorite, I would, pick Devin Haney, but it's not an easy fight for either guy.
I agree. You made some great points. You touched on so many things. I'm kind of just like, goddamn. Haney. I'm a Haney guy, so stop me, Ian, right? When I get on my Haney rant, I get on my bias, please stop me. I'm rocking out with Team Haney because Devin Haney has the swag, he has the confidence. Devin Haney has never questioned himself in and outside the ring. Against Lomachenko, a high-level boxer, never questioned himself. Him and Bill, his father, they had the game plan. They stuck to it. It was ugly, right? They got to their destination, though. They pothole there, but they got there. He never questioned himself. He stayed true to who he was. He boxed his way through. He beat Loma against Regis. He boxed his way through. Easy, hot knife through butter. Beat Regis. Even against Ryan. Such a demoralizing defeat. Yeah. He still never questioned himself. He still came back. He fought a formerly unified champion, a guy who's still top 10, Jose Ramirez. You would think after such a beating, that he would have stepped into a fight like Rolly Romero. He was the guy stepping into Jose Ramirez, while Ryan, after having such a morale boost and such a great victory, I hate to put so many quotations, but such a great victory that Ryan would have stepped into the formerly unified champion. No, Haney was the guy who fought Jose Ramirez. Haney's never questioned himself. He's had superb confidence throughout his career. Every contract that's been on the table, Haney has initiated. He wanted Gervonta. He wanted Shakur. He wants Ryan again. He wanted Teofimo Lopez. He wanted Richardson Hitchens. And now he's getting Brian Norman Jr. Brian Norman Jr. was not confident against Jaron Ennis. Now, I understand Jaron Ennis is a different beast, a whole nother animal in the game of boxing. But at the end of the day, Devin Haney's never questioned himself. Him and Bill Haney know who they are. They feel like they belong. And if the fight goes to a very dark place, Devin Haney's going to stay true to himself. He know who he is. He's going to do what he does best. And when Brian Norman goes to that part of that fight, I don't know how he's going to look. I don't like the way he's going to react. That's just my analysis. I know it's really shallow, and I could do a whole stylistic breakdown. Maybe I'll say that for YouTube, TikTok. But that's just my whole analysis. I'm rocking out Team Haney. No way in hell Brian Norman takes this fight. That's me.
I hear what you're saying. I do think Haney is more built for the big moment. Like, I very much agree with that. And I do question what Haney, learned from the Ryan Garcia fight, because I think even he didn't lose, but he took a beating. I question what he learned, and I think Norman will look to do similar things that Ryan Garcia did, given, explode and just land big power punches and try and overwhelm Devin Haney. And I think Devin Haney typically in his career has handled that very well. I think, now I'm not trying to speak for Devin Haney, but the version of Devin Haney I saw against Ryan Garcia was not Devin Haney. That's not the Devin Haney I've seen. That's not the guy that stays behind his jab and pop shots from the outside. I'm not saying Haney's like a runner and that's all he does, but it just seems like he didn't pick his moments very well in that fight, given Garcia's only chance was to just explode with power punches, and it looked like Haney kind of fell into that trap. I think the experience, and more so the boxing IQ edge will be so heavy in Devin Haney's favor. I really do believe that. But I am a little weary of what would happen if Brian Norman lands a shot on Devin Haney's chin. Because I don't think we can question it. Brian Norman Jr. is probably the hardest punching welterweight in the world. And Devin Haney is a big guy, but he's 135, moved up to 140, which he was a big 135. I think he was a little bit bigger 140, but I don't know. Has his body filled out to 147, What's his chin looking like after the Ryan Garcia fight? This really is a great fight. Stylistically, it's impossible to pick, in my opinion. I just question if we're going to see an improved Devin Haney. If we do, I think there's a path to victory. Not even just a path. A clear path, a clear route. But man, Brian Norman Jr. has just looked amazing recently. I know we've never seen Brian Norman in that deep, scary place in those deep waters. But I'm not just going to say he can't go there. He looks like a guy that's willing to go through the fire. I don't know. Jerry, this is such an intriguing stylistic clash.
He's gonna drown
I have no idea.
He's gonna drown him. Was Brian Norman? He's a junior. His father's senior.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Him and senior. They question themselves. I can't bet on the guy who questioned themselves. You wake up every day. You train. You put millions into your body, your camp, your ability. You should never question yourself. That's something Brian Norman did. I don't like him in the deep waters. Haney's going to drown him. Him and Bill, championship DNA, championship caliber experience, world-class, proven pound for pound, undisputed, Hall of Fame boxers, Ian. He's going to drown him. Rounds 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is going to get bad, Ian. It's going to look like Haney Loma, but this time Haney's going to be on the, not on the receiving end. You're going to see such a gap in the experience and the IQ. We're going to sit here scratching our heads. Why did we book this fight? And Haney's going to become a 3-division champion, Ian. I want everybody, because you have some doubts on Haney too. I can hear it in your voice. You doubt Haney too, Ian. Don't tell me you
I
don't.
doubt him because of the Ryan Garcia fight. I mean, yeah, I do doubt Haney a little. I do doubt that chin now. You want to be 100% honest here? I thought he lost to Loma. I wanted Loma to win that fight, and I thought Haney lost. I really did. I'm not even kidding. Yes,
You scored that fight in Loma's favor.
I did.
Okay.
7-5. 7-5. And I think that's crazy. A lot of people did.
No, a lot of casuals did. All right? I'm taking the kids' terminology here. A lot of casuals did. Haney clearly won that fight. It was a close fight. Loma had great moments. He had the bigger moments. Haney clearly won that fight, right? And so now I know who you are. I know what kind of guy you are. You're doubting Haney, and he's gonna prove you right. And I want you to put the 3 division undisputed. He'll be one time. Would he be? Is the lineal belt gonna be on this fight? It should be.
I don't think it will because Haney's not a champ at 147.
Is he? Not
Maybe it will.
47 yet? I don't know.
He's
Either way,
up.
3 division, undisputed, lineal. Where does he go on your pound for pound? Let me hear it.
If he beats Norman?
Yeah.
If he beats Norman, he's top. Okay, if he beats Norman, like, say the boxing rankings, because Canelo and Crawford would have fought by then, whatever. There would be a ton of fights by then. But, like, say Haney and Norman fought tomorrow. Like, my pound for pound list right now is Usyk, Inoue, Bivol, Crawford. I Bivol above Crawford.
I don't.
Fair. I have a little bias, but I digress. And then I would probably have Bam or Canelo. I think my top, like my consensus top 7 would be
Artur.
Oh yeah. Shit. Okay. My consensus like top. I don't know. So I think the top tier is, my top tier is Usyk, Inoue, Bivol, Crawford. Those are like my consensus top 4.
Yeah.
Mess with the order all you want. Those are my top 4. And then I think my next 4 would be Bam, Canelo, Beterbiev, Haney. And I'm not saying Haney's last on that list. If he beats Norman, I would probably put him above Beterbiev and maybe Canelo, just because, like, what have you done for me lately? Canelo's fought William Skull, Edgar Berlanga, Jaime Munguia. No offense, I love Canelo. But, yeah, I'll be honest. Brian Norman's the consensus number 1 guy at 147. If Haney can beat him and really make it look good, he will be in my top 7, pound for pound.
That's fair. He would probably join there. I would have Beterbiev 5, Canelo 6, and then, probably Haney 7. I like Taraji, man. I'm a big fan of Taraji. I like to throw him in towards that top 7. But Haney, Norman, it's a fight that maybe I'm more excited for than most. I think it is a good fight. I think across the boxing world, we're all shaking our heads, nodding and pointing and saying, wow. But one thing I take pride in, a lot of people recognize me for. Have you ever been to Zaxby's? This is getting all over the place. You know what Zaxby's is?
I have not. I know what it is, but I have not been there.
I went to Zaxby's. I pull into the drive-thru, and the guy comes to me, and he says, "You're the dude on TikTok who hates Gervonta Davis." And so I take pride in this, right? I don't hate Tank guys. I don't. But Gervonta Davis set out his hit list, and now Devin Haney set out his hit list, and I must compare the two. Devin Haney has sent a contract to Tio, Shakur, Hitchens, Tank, and now Brian Norman Jr. Am I missing anybody?
I don't believe so. And that's a pretty high-level hit list. I'll agree with that. That's like calling out the big names in the dangerous fights.
It's hard to bet against a guy who has this much confidence, because it's like, why are you so eager to get in the ring with these guys? You must know something we don't. You got to have some confidence. Versus a guy in Gervonta Davis who's, since his alleged 6-fight deal, he's fought Martin and now Roach, and probably Roach again. But, that's why I'm really high on Haney. The confidence of Devin. I don't see him losing this one. I think this is Devin's time. I think this is his, I don't want to say era. I don't want to say era, but I feel like it is his time. I feel like he is going to be the forefront, and he's going to usher in this new era, right? And we do need to speak on one day just the next era. I do want to do like a 20-30 pound for pound or something, because we have Canelo said he retire in 27. Usyk is rumored to retire this year. Inouye's retiring in 27. Bud could retire this year. I think Haney's going to be one of those guys to push and usher in a new era of boxing. I don't think it makes much sense for him to lose this bout, but that's all I really have for Haney. I'm rocking out with Team Haney, how I always have, man.
Okay, let me interrupt. You did say a lot about how Haney has experience and he has, the big moments and he wants these fights, and I agree with that. And I don't want you to give away your breakdown because I, you're probably going to push it on TikTok, all that. But give me a little something. What can Haney do in the ring to contrast Norman's explosive come forward style? Can you admit that Norman is a very dangerous fighter?
No.
No? Jerry, come on. You can't watch Brian Norman's last 2 fights and not say he's dangerous.
He is against Sasaki. This is Dev. This is undisputed. This is pound for pound. He the threat of Norman will be neutralized. Now, yes, when you take a BB gun and you point it at a baby duck, yes, that BB gun becomes a threat. But now you point it at a Goliath and Devin Haney, the whole landscape of the situation changes. What does a BB gun do to a Goliath, Ian?
Dude, bro, Brian Norman is a dangerous fighter, Jerry. You know that. Come on. He poses danger to Devin Haney. Yes, he's explosive. He's powerful. But I don't... Does Haney have... Okay, in the nicest way possible, Haney wasn't knocking shit out at 135. Is he really going to have...
He was drained.
Then what was he knocking out at 140? He had
one fight? One fight.
Two. Ryan Garcia fight 2. He brutalized...
No contest. I've never seen that fight. That fight never happened. That was a no contest.
Whatever. Jog it from your memory. Whatever. Regis Prograis. He dominated Regis Prograis and only dropped him once. He was landing plus the whole fight. I just don't know if Devin Haney... it's going to have to be a masterclass from Devin Haney, in my opinion. And I'm not saying he doesn't have that in his bag. He's proved time and time again he does have masterclass performances in his bag. It's just, man, it's Wilder. I've only got to be perfect for 1 second. Brian Norman's only got to be perfect for 1 second. Haney's got to be perfect for the whole fight. And I'm not saying Haney can't be perfect for the whole fight. It's just... Listen, I would rank Haney so highly if he wins the fight. I will. And I will give him all the flowers. And I'm not saying he's going to lose. I just think it's such a dangerous fight for him. So, listen, I'm so happy this fight's being made. I think it's a perfect contrast to styles. But I do see more of a path to victory for Brian Norman than I do Devin Haney. That's my final statement on it. I don't really know if I can pick a winner yet. But I can foresee Brian Norman Jr. winning more than I can Devin Haney. But Haney gets all the flowers from me, all the credit in the world. If he does win, it's just hard to picture that in my mind right now. That is just my thoughts.
I get you, man. I get you. I do want to transition and talk about the card Turkey Al-Sheikh setting up with Devin Haney. I don't know where he'll be placed at on this card, but it's set to have Haney and Norman on this card in November. Turkey Al-Sheikh, he did come out. He said he wanted Ennis versus Virgil on this card. I think we can agree. Ennis probably wouldn't. Yeah, no. But Benavidez versus Yard has been booked. I guess officially. Turkey tweeted it. Rings tweeted. Yard Benavidez. Give me a quick rundown. How you feeling about that one?
I'm pissed that got made. Yard, I'm going to go off the what have you done for me lately. In February 2022 on the Last Crescendo card, Callum Smith fought Joshua Buatsi, and Buatsi was on a huge run. And Callum Smith didn't dominate him, but was clearly the better fighter. And there were talks for Callum Smith versus David Benavidez for the longest time. And Anthony Yard fought a trilogy bout against Lyndon Arthur on the Eubank Ben card and scraped by a decision victory when in the second fight, he won by 4th round knockout. So it really makes me I know you just asked my breakdown of the fight, and I'm kind of just trashing on it immediately.
Yeah.
I will try to stop doing that. I would rather see Callum Smith fight Dave Benavidez and Andy Yard, but whatever. That's not what we're getting. We're getting Benavidez versus Yard. I'm not saying Yard doesn't have a chance, but what I saw in his last fight. Yeah, what I saw in his last fight, and he was stopped by Beterbiev. Granted, it's Beterbiev. He was stopped by Kovalev. This just seems like somewhat of a routine title defense for David Benavidez, who I think Benavidez looked amazing in his last fight against Morrell. My immediate thoughts are, it's not the most 50-50 fight. I think it's pretty 80-20 in Benavidez's favor, and I think it's going to be another, routine title defense. I don't know if he'll necessarily stop Yard, but I don't think he'll have much trouble. I just hope Benavidez can really get into like a big fight at 175 after this one. Hopefully against the winner of Beterbiev 3. And yeah, I think it's an 80-20 favor for Benavidez. I think he, his fast hands, his explosiveness will just outclass Yard. I don't think Yard's ever been in there with a fighter like David Benavidez. And I see Benavidez by either decision or late stoppage, and I just really hope he can get a big fight, against another name after this one.
Yeah, man. Not the most intriguing fight. Smith versus Benavidez, that's not a tune-up fight. It's genuinely a fight he could drop and lose in there. So I'm not mad that it didn't get booked. I want to see Benavidez versus a Beterbiev Bivol in the, after the trilogy. So I'm not mad that the Smith fight didn't get booked. Like, if you want to enjoy a fight this year from Benavidez, obviously you would like the Mundo fight. But yeah, if you were looking to set up set up the big undisputed fight, you would probably kind of like the Yard fight a bit more. But I don't think Yard has much of a chance. This Yard, like you said, he got stopped by Kovalev. What, 5? Was it 5?
I think it was a little longer than 5, but he got stopped with a jab. So no offense. In the Yard, you're a great fighter, but yeah, it wasn't the best performance.
It might have been 10. I can't remember. Either way, he got stopped by a Kovalev that a lot of people weren't high on. A Kovalev that got stopped by Canelo, and we don't even give Canelo much props for being that Kovalev. Not a great fight, not a great bout in my opinion. Benavidez should make light work of him. On to the next bout. Turkey Al-Sheikh is looking to make was William Zepeda and Andy Cruz. So this is where Turkey's kind of playing, not fortune teller, but he's kind of trying to look in the future and say, okay, well, if Zepeda loses to Shakur and Andy Cruz does this, and we can make this happen. I mean, how are you feeling about Cruz Zepeda?
I think it's a great style clash. I'm very high on Andy Cruz. I like Andy Cruz a lot. I love watching him. I don't know how he does against some of the top guys, but I think this would be a great test for him because whether you like it or not, whatever happens in Zepeda versus Shakur, Zepeda is a guy that will come at you all 12 rounds, nonstop, and throw about 1,000,000 punches at you. He is a hard night's work for any fighter. Granted, I do think Shakur Stevenson's going to get past him, and I don't really like that Turkey speaks ahead these events, especially when you're foreseeing a guy losing, because it's I'm not saying the cards are going to be, biased in Shakur's favor, but it's
Not
the
good.
fight's in 2 weeks. Wait for the result, and then you can match make. But talking about Zepeda versus Cruz, I think it's a perfect style matchup. You got the pressure, come forward southpaw in Zepeda, who's got some pop, against the slick, one of the best amateur boxers of all time in Andy Cruz. I think it'll be a perfect test for Andy Cruz. I think I would foresee Cruz winning, but I think it's a good 50-50 fight at lightweight. And if Zepeda does lose and it gets made, I think the winner would foresee themselves right back in line for a title shot. And I would definitely not be mad if that was made. That's a great clash of styles, and I think it'd be a real test to see where Andy Cruz is at in his pro career.
Yeah, I agree. One thing I do want to correct you on, the Shakur fight is next weekend, correct?
Oh,
In
yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah. After this Saturday, it's next Saturday. Yeah,
Next week.
closer than I
About
thought.
8 days away now. What's that? 30? Yeah. Zepeda Cruz. That's a tough bout. I really want to see how Zepeda looks in this core fight. If he gets stopped by Shakur, I would heavily favor Andy Cruz. I got to be honest. Shakur is a great boxer, but being stopped by Shakur at this point at 135, it's going to ruin his stock. It's going to ruin his odds on my sports book, my personal sports book. Zepeda wouldn't be anywhere close to being the favorite against Andy Cruz, but it's a good bout. I want to say Zepeda is now ranked 3 with Keyshawn and Loma out the picture, and Cruz is behind Morataya, so he would be 5, I want to say. And then, Kid Austin's behind him. So, yeah. So, the number 3, number 5 guy, Cruz is fighting for the IBF title, right?
Yeah. His last fight was an IBF eliminator.
Okay, and Mortai has been officially promoted, right?
Yes, after Loma retired, yeah.
Okay, so I guess this will not be a world title bout because this is supposed to be in November. Yeah, it would not be a world title bout, but it's still a really good bout. Whoever wins this is the number three or number two guy, depending on Tank and Roach how that goes, if that even happens. But the whoever wins does kind of just set themselves up for a straight shot at a world title with a Shakur, with a IBF Raymond Mortaya, with a WBO's not vacant. Oh yeah, vacant WBO or wherever. So great fight. I do want to see it take place. I think it does push to a very dry and stale division. I do not like 135, but I think it does push it along. And then Turkey has looked to make and Billy versus Lester Martinez. I mean, Ian, how you feeling about that one? We talked about Billy a little bit last time. You're high on the guy. I'm high on the guy. Can Lester Martinez probably put a stop to his momentum?
I might be higher on Lester Martinez. I feel like this is a guy who's been going very under the radar, but he is trained by Bomac. He trains with Terrence Crawford, all those guys. He trains in that gym, and he has been looking like an absolute wrecking ball. Lester Martinez has so much power. He's so slick. He fought Carlos Gongora about a year ago, and Gongora like damn near stopped him Billy like 3 times in their fight. And Martinez made him look like an amateur. Martinez dominated him. Then Martinez fought Joshawn James, who had beaten 2 undefeated up-and-coming contenders and looked relatively like unbeatable at that level. And Lester Martinez knocked him out in I think it was 3 or 4 rounds. So yeah, I think if that fight gets made, don't count out Lester Martinez at all. And I will say, I was on boxing Twitter the other day, and the top thing said, rumors circulating that Lester Martinez dropped Terrence Crawford in sparring. I don't know how much credence I give to those rumors. It seemed like some random account maybe just trying to stir up drama.
Yeah.
But Lester Martinez, training with Bomac and training with that team, we have seen countless fighters go to that team and significantly improve. Troy Isley is a great example. Excuse me, I think if that fight gets made, Christian Billy's good. He's a wrecking ball, but I think if anyone is like a contender coming up is to expose Christian Billy, it's a guy like Lester Martinez. Watch out for Lester Martinez. He's on the fast rise, and yeah, he's unknown, but this is a guy that I am so high on. And just, if you have never seen Lester Martinez, go look at him, and I think you'd understand where I'm coming from.
Oh, so are you favoring Lester Martinez in this bout?
I'd say it's 50-50, but if you made me bet on somebody, honestly, I'd probably bet on Lester Martinez, yeah.
I haven't watched much of the guy. He is gonna be, it does seem like he's gonna tower over Billy quite a bit. If not, maybe it's just the way Billy's stance is just a bit more sunk into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. In terms of power, physicality, it still might go into Martinez's favor. I don't know. And
Lester
Billy's
Martinez fights in 2 weeks, too. Lester Martinez fights in 2 weeks.
He does?
He fights with Pro Box. He's fighting Pierre de Bombe, who's like a gatekeeper at this point. But yeah, he fights in 2 weeks on Pro Box, July 12th. So I think we'll get a good gauge for how that fight would go next week. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. Just wanted to. He is fighting in 2 weeks. Or next Saturday. Next Saturday it is.
Next Saturday. I'm like, okay. So yeah, July 12th. So I mean, that fight's going to tell us a lot on how this is going to play out. And Billy obviously just came off a first round stoppage like 1-2 weeks ago. So both guys on a tear. Both guys seems to be just tearing through the division practically. And like just like the Andy Cruz Williams Zepeda fight is a great fight between 2 contenders that puts them on a straight shot to Mr. Canelo Alvarez. I say Canelo because he will defeat Terrence Crawford in September.
I agree.
But again, Turkey, I got to give it to him. His matchmaking, while it's not, it is tremendous. It is monumental, right? But what really gets boxing going is these somewhat smaller fights that are moving the division along. Every fight can be Canelo Crawford, Fury AJ, Tank Shakur. These smaller fights give these guys, these contenders, more room to move up and get their way at a title. So another great fight made by, or Turkey Al-Sheikh is looking to make. And then finally, This one's a bit intriguing. Mr. Moses Itama versus Martin Bakole.
That's another great fight. I think, with all due respect, Dillian White's a great fighter. I think Moses Itama runs through him just like he's been running every other guy down. I don't know if you caught Dillian White's last fight, but he fought Ebenezer Tete, who I've actually done some research on Ebenezer Tete, and I watched a YouTube video of a fight that looked like in a middle school gym somewhere in Africa, and he got hit with a huge right hand in the third round, got rocked, round ended. The guy who hit him with the right hand pulled out of the fight in the corner. So that's probably the most rigged fight I've ever seen in my life. Like, without a doubt. Guy gets rocked, guy that rocks him pulls out in 2 seconds. So it's not trying to go into a rabbit hole on Ebenezer Tete, but what I'm saying is Dillian White fought that guy in his last fight and went life and death with him for 8 rounds. And then Tete eventually pulled out. Dillian White is, with all due respect, such a shell of himself. I think he has absolutely zero chin left. He's a very exciting, fun fighter, but he fought Jermaine Franklin. I thought he lost that fight, got rocked multiple times, got brutally stopped by Tyson Fury. It seems like he gets rocked in every fight he has. And I think Moses Itama is going to run through him on August 16th, just like he's been running through everybody else. And that would set up a fight against Martin Bakole very well. And I think Bakole would, without a doubt, be the toughest test of Itama's career. But I really think it's a bad matchup for Bakole because of how slow on the feet Bakole is. He's fast with the hands, don't get me wrong, very fast with the hands. But so is Moses Itama, and Moses Itama is fast with the feet too. He's got incredible angles, incredible punch selection, unreal power. I think Bakole's gas tank is not favorable, and I know that Itama's never really went past like the 6th round, and recently he hasn't even gone past like the 3rd round. But I don't think Bakole is that guy that will be able to drag him into deep waters, and he very well could. And this might be a hot take here because I know it's supposed to be a step up, but I could see Moses Itama icing Bakole in a couple rounds, just like he's been everybody else.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Bakole, I don't think there's been some boogeymen surfacing, and you had Matias, and we understand Matias wasn't the guy we thought he was, and now you have Marat Tazaliev, and now you had Martin Bakole, and he had the big fight on August 3rd of last year. Not making light work of Jared Anderson. Anderson actually had some great moments in that fight, but he had the brutal knockout where it looked like he spun his head around with an uppercut. Bakole's stock has plummeted since then. He had the 2nd round stoppage against Parker.
Yeah.
You know, he had the F.A. Ajagba majority draw, I want to say, in which I probably thought he lost that bout. It wasn't the greatest bout. I thought he lost. He's been stopped by Michael Hunter, of all people. Bakole, he's not the guy a lot of you guys thought he was. And I told you this, guys, but he's not the guy. Moses Itama will use him as a stepping stone. He'll use him as just another step on his staircase, another piece of his ladder to build onto this. I don't even want to say prospect. He's a contender now. He's a very solid contender after he does what he does to Dillian White. So Bakole, his size, if he utilizes his size right, it could give such a young kid in Itama issues. But I don't know the last time I've really seen Bakole be that overwhelmingly physically imposing guy. I think his size hinders him more than it actually benefits him. Like Ian said, his feet are terrible, man. Terrible. Like just 2 cement blocks to the ground. His hand speed's not terrible. But in general, Bakole's he's out of shape, man. He's not one of those big guys who's like Tyson Fury, like he's big and he's in shape, or even Andy Ruiz. He's out of shape. Like he's not equipped to go 8 rounds. He's not equipped to go 10 rounds. I don't think this fight does go 10 rounds. I'm with you here. 4 or 5 rounds. I think Bakole's TKO. Maybe he throws in the towel again. I'm not high on Bakole right now. I'm looking forward to Itama stopping him.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Now that I'm thinking more about it, I do think if they get on the inside, Bakole does have really fast hands. He's got quick combinations. Doesn't really have to, rotate a lot to get the power on him. We saw that in the Anderson fight. But I think Itama does an absolutely tremendous job of picking his punches and setting up his punches. And I think he will, go in there. And I don't think he'll go after Martin McCauley right away. I think he'll, use his faster feet, which McCauley don't have, and he'll move around. He'll create angles. And I think just like he did with Dempsey McKean, he just did it with Mike Belogan. He's done it with all his opponents. I think he'll set up a shot. McCauley gets hit a lot. Ajagba is a power puncher, but not nearly in the same way that Italma is. And I think Italma will set up a shot and stop him within the first half of the fight. And yeah, I am so unbelievably high on Moses Italma. I think he's one of the best, prospects/contenders that boxing has seen in a while, especially in the heavyweight division. And I think there's only about 3 or 4 guys at heavyweight that I don't want to say that I give a chance to beat him, but that's really what I think. I think Usyk, but I don't think that fight's ever going to happen. I think Parker will definitely give him a run for his money. Parker's a tricky task, and then Dubois maybe, but then again, Dubois is kind of stiff. I don't know. I'm not trying to move him too fast, but at the level of Dillian White and the level of Martin McCauley, I think Moses Italma does similar work to what he's been doing to the guys he's been fighting. I think he gets them out of there in the first half of the fight.
No, I do want to talk about if it does take place on the inside. I'll correct you in a second, but first I want to speak on McCauley's hand speed. It can be dangerous on the inside. A guy, he doesn't have to put much into the shots, right? And that leads to faster combinations due to the lack of just the hips moving. If you see a guy like Vladimir, even Vitaly Klitschko, both Klitschko brothers, not a lot of hip movement. That led to faster, longer combinations. It can get dangerous on the inside. I will admit that, but Thomas is a bit too fast, too athletic. Now, point you made, I'm kind of shocked, Ian. Dubois, Italma. That should be a no-brainer. Dubois punches his head off his shoulders. What are we saying here?
I think Utama's a way better boxer than Dubois.
Doesn't matter.
Really? I mean, don't get me wrong. Dubois is a murderous puncher and all that. And Dubois does have a good chin, but I mean, I guess at this point in time, I would definitely pick Dubois. I agree. But I think give Itama a couple more fights, and I really think he could do something. I mean, I'm very high on Moses Itama. I think in 2 or 3 years, he's going to be... Maybe so. But, I mean, I'm all in. I think in 2 to 3 years, he could really be like this top 5 pound-for-pound guy. I did an interview through DMs with Italma, and something that really stood out to me. You know how he was chasing Mike Tyson's record and all that? That was a big talking point.
Yeah.
When I was, speaking to him, he said he didn't care at all about the record. He said that was, promoters just trying to push a story. He never really cared about that record. He is so serious about his career and pushing himself in the right ways and taking the right fights at the right times. I think he is very smart, along with all the skills. I think he's smart inside the ring and outside the ring about how to progress his career. And, man, I think Italma knows what he's doing. I think he knows what order of steps he's taking. I think he knows he's catching Dillian White at the right time. And I think he knows all the things we just said about Martin McCauley. And I think it's going to be hard for me to, ever pick against Moses Italma when a fight is made. If you're in 2 years, if Italma versus Dubois gets made, I think I would pick Italma just off the pure fact that I feel like he knows when to take fights, and I feel like he knows, when the time is right. I feel like Ben Davidson is one of the best trainers in boxing, in my opinion. I feel like he draws out game plans. He really analyzes. He knows what he's going to do in the ring. He goes in with the game plan, and he sticks to it. And, yeah, I just think Italma's a very, very smart fighter in and outside of the ring, and it's going to be hard for me to ever pick against him, to be honest.
I get you. Okay. As long as we are kind of making it clear that Dubois right now punches his
right
head
now, Dubois would stop him. I can agree with that.
Okay.
I can agree with that.
Okay. Itama's a great kid. I love Itama, man. Hopefully one day we could do more of an episode dedicated to him. Depending on how he looks against White, hopefully he looks spectacular. I think that's all the fights we have for this Dream Turkey card. Before we wrap it up, I spoke to you briefly before the podcast. I wanted to play a game with you since Fury Usyk 3 has been heavily hinted by Turkey Al-Sheikh. He says something about we have a rabbit to hunt. Obviously, Fury kind of goes at Usyk and calling him the rabbit, and then it's bad. It's bad. I think we can all agree that Fury and Usyk do not deserve a trilogy. I wanted to ask my guy Ian. We're gonna play a quick game, kind of bit rapid fire. Who deserves to run it back, and who deserves to just move on? You don't get the rematch. You don't get the trilogy. I had some guys. Let me pull them up right here for you. Starting off, Teofimo Lopez, WBO lineal junior welterweight champion, and Kambosos now at 140. How would you feel about the rematch? Does Kambosos get it, or does he need to move on?
So are you asking me whether Teofimo deserves it or Kambosos?
Kambosos would be the one who would benefit the most. He's kind of would be chasing Teo, so does Kambosos deserve it?
To be honest, hell no. I love George Kambosos. He's one of my the way he fight. Like, he always brings the energy. No, I think. Oh man, Kambosos, you are one of my favorite fighters to watch ever. I think you might be like the worst unified champion we've had in a couple of years. I hate to say it. It's just like, and I'll give you all the credit in the world. You built so much off of your fight against Teofimo. You got in all the big fights, but your performance against Jake Wiley, especially did you watch that fight when he was supposed to fight Jordan and he fought Jake Wiley? Yeah. I was not impressed by that at all. No offense, George Kambosos, if you are possibly watching. No offense, I was not impressed by that. I think the absolute only leverage Kambosos has in a fight against Teofimo is that he already beat him. But based off what you've done for me at 140, no, Kambosos in no chance deserves a rematch. No, Kambosos does not deserve a rematch at all. Respectfully, he's one of my favorite fighters I've ever watched before. He always brings the energy. He'll build up a fight perfectly all the time. But let me run through his series of fights since he fought Teofimo Lopez. He fought Devin Haney for undisputed. Lost pretty badly. With all due respect, that's Devin Haney. You can get by that and still, be credible. And then you lost Devin Haney in the rematch, which again, we proved that he wasn't on the level of Devin Haney. And that was Devin Haney and Devin Haney's, peak, not prime, but Devin Haney was fresh, young. He still is. All I'm saying is Kambosos did not lose a lot of stock when he lost to Devin Haney. And then he goes on and fights Maxie Hughes, which I fell asleep during that fight. And what's up, Jerry?
Yo. Don't know what happened with my connection. What happened on your end right there?
Then he fought, was it Lomachenko after that? Lomachenko got stopped. Then he fought Wiley, didn't look great. Then he fought Hitchens, got stopped. So no, Kambosos does not deserve a rematch. With all due respect, one of the most entertaining and, best at building a fight guys I believe ever, but no, he doesn't deserve a rematch.
Give me 1 second. I mean, I agree with you. Only leverage he has is the win over Teofimo Lopez. That's the only reason we're sitting here having this conversation.
And I'm not going to factor that into the picks. If a guy's only leverage is you've beat them before, I'm not going to give him that just because that's the obvious leverage. But you've had to do stuff for me lately to warrant a rematch.
Yeah. Okay. How do you feel about Mr. Canelo Alvarez, Dimitri Bivol at 75? What about 68? 68, 75. Give it to me.
If Canelo beats Terrence Crawford, you can justify the fight. You can justify any fight with Canelo because he's Canelo. But if we're talking about just what have you done for me since the fight, Canelo has fought Triple G, Jermell Charlo, John Ryder,
Munguia,
Berlanga, Skull. And if he beats Crawford, that would be 7 wins since the Bivol fight, which would be impressive. Okay, he can have the Bivol fight, but he can't take it from Benavidez. If it comes to a point where it's either Canelo getting the fight or David Benavidez, give it to Benavidez. Don't let Canelo steal Benavidez's career like that. I think Canelo, if he keeps winning, if he beats Crawford and then wins one more fight, he can get the winner of Bivol or Beterbiev versus Benavidez. Canelo can deserve it, but Benavidez deserves it first, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't think Canelo would want the fight unless it was for undisputed as well. So I think
Yeah.
Benavidez Bivol would have to unify that division as a whole for Canelo to have any interest at potential Bivol. I don't think he fights Bivol if he's not a champion. If he happens to lose to Benavidez, and like I said, if Bivol isn't able to capture that WBC title once more, I don't think Canelo takes it. But yeah, any Canelo fight you could justify it, and then technically he is 2-time undisputed. He has defended those undisputed titles time and time again, so I'm not mad at it. My next one, Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury 4.
Okay. Now I'll give a little something on this because Fury has lost his last 2 fights, and Wilder lost his last 2 fights until he just beat Tyrell Herndon. Honestly, and I'm gonna sound a little crazy here, but it's not. I'm not saying I would love it to be made next, but if it got made, I wouldn't be terribly upset. Tyson Fury doesn't deserve a rematch with Usyk. That is he lost 2 fights. In my opinion, he lost. The first fight was a lot more debatable than the second fight. I think Usyk clearly won the second fight. Fury, in no chance, deserves a rematch with Usyk or a trilogy fight with Usyk. Wilder doesn't deserve a fight with Fury. So I think Wilder doesn't necessarily deserve it, but it would still sell if it got made. But I guess that's not what we're talking about. Wilder doesn't deserve it, but I think it would still sell pretty well if it got made because of how good their last fight was, and I think the beef would still be there. But no, Wilder does not deserve that fight.
Okay.
And I don't think Fury would take that fight. I think Fury has made it clear he only wants to come back for Usyk.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I think Wilder Fury 4, yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. Fury shouldn't take it, and then it's just in comparison to Usyk Fury 3, it's like, okay, everybody deserves a rematch then. If you can just come off 2 pretty much embarrassing losses, everybody deserves a rematch. So I get you on that one. My next one is Gervonta Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. Where would it take place at? Probably it had to be a 40, 43-ish, around that range.
Probably a catch rate in between 40 and 47.
Does Ryan deserve it? Does Tank move up? Are the fans pleased? How do we feel about that one?
I would have said Ryan deserved it until he lost to Rolly Romero. I honestly think that rematch was what could have sold very well right after Ryan beat Devin Haney. I think that could have sold very well, but now I just don't see this making sense at all, to be honest. I think there's no offense. Ryan Garcia is still one of the most popular guys in the sport, but I think his stock has really taken a big hit after that Rolly Romero fight. Garcia was known as an entertaining fighter, and the Rolly fight was all but entertaining. I don't think either guys would take that fight, and I don't think it makes sense for either guys. And I don't think Garcia deserves that fight, no. Don't have much to say on that one. Just don't think it makes sense, and I don't think any guy's really interested in it, and I don't think Garcia deserves it.
Yeah, Ryan, man, I feel like the guy's allergic to a title, man. If he beat Rolly, he'd be promoted to WBA champion right now. The guy, bad decisions after bad decisions. My next one I have for you, and oh man, Shakur versus Edwin De Los Santos, a rematch. Does De Los Santos deserve it? Does Shakur need it?
This would be the worst rematch on the entire list. No offense, that was one of the worst fights I've ever watched. I fell asleep. Shakur, you're one of my favorite fighters. Edwin, I think you're great. I think you had a real chance against Keyshawn Davis. Those styles do not mesh whatsoever.
He had a broken hand, Ian. His hand was broken.
Okay, that's true. But I think De Los Santos is a very dangerous fighter at 135, to be honest. He stopped Jose Valenzuela in 3 rounds. I think if I was Shakur, I would stay the hell away from that. I think Edwin probably wants that rematch. Do I think Edwin deserves it? No, he has not fought since then. I know he should have fought Keyshawn Davis. If he beat Keyshawn Davis, that rematch should definitely have happened. Edwin needs to pick up a really good win or a title to get that rematch. And even if he does, I don't want to see it because I think we can all agree that was one of the worst fights of the last century. No offense, but both are great fighters, but those styles don't clash. I don't want to see that rematch.
That's fair. That's fair. AJ Ruiz 3, both kind of on the decline a bit. Do they get the third match?
I think this one, out of like all the ones you've said, could make the most sense, just because Ruiz's stock is like in the bin, because he was out for so long, and then fought Jarrell Miller and had a draw, which I thought Miller won that fight. I know Ruiz broke his hand, whatever. And then again, AJ took about the worst loss you could take in a fight. Getting Dubois is a great fighter. I'm not saying there's any shame in losing to Dubois, but the way he lost, his stock just really goes downhill. I think this is a sellable fight. It is 1-1. This could be the settling factor. I think I would like to have seen Ruiz have a lot better of a performance against Miller, and this fight would actually have, some decent, upside to it. But I think AJ's chin is very questionable at this point in his career. So I think this fight could get made as, sort of a last chance for both guys. And, they lit up Madison Square Garden however long ago when they fought for the first time. So I think this is a good parallel to that. Like, those guys were at the top back then. Now they're both kind of in the, in the tank, at the bottom of the barrel. So I think the winner, it's like the story with that fight be, win or go home, win or retire. But if you win, you're propelling yourself back into a really big fight. But if you lose, retirement's probably the only option. So I think that does make sense. I don't know. I think it would benefit Andy Ruiz without a doubt. I think AJ's a money fight, whoever takes the fight. I'm not necessarily saying Andy Ruiz deserves the fight, but the fight makes sense. I think the fight makes sense. I wouldn't hate if that happened next.
In America? Could we do it in America? AJ's last stop in America? No.
Do it in Madison Square Garden, because they had the first one in Madison Square Garden. Put a big fight. I don't want to go off into a tangent here, but when was the last big fight in the main room at Madison Square Garden? I know Serrano and Taylor about a fight in Madison Square Garden, which all credit to them. They had their first fight in Madison Square Garden too. But when was the last big, men's headliner in Madison Square Garden? I can't remember when it was, to be honest. Can you?
I can't, because Haney Ryan was in Barclays. I can't remember.
I don't think it was AJ Ruiz. I'm sure a big fight's happened in Madison Square Garden since then. But I don't think it's a main event in Madison Square Garden at all. AJ Ruiz. I think throw a really big fight. If Turkey Al-Sheikh and, those guys, because I think those guys who would do it, could get a really big fight made in Madison Square Garden, I think AJ versus Ruiz 3 is a perfect co-main event and a perfect storyline, especially if it's in Madison Square Garden. So if this fight takes place the third time in Madison Square Garden, I think there's a very good storylines there. I think storylines are a very underrated thing in boxing, underrated way of promoting fights. Create a storyline there. Storylines aren't created enough. There's a storyline there. Create that. I think if that happens, I would like to see it in America. I wouldn't want to just throw that in Saudi Arabia. AJ needs a crowd with some supportive fans, and I think that the ideal location would be in the UK. But that fight happened in Madison Square Garden. There are probably some people in New York who remember the outcome of that first fight and that would go there and to be a lot of emotion. So if this fight does get made, if it will get made, I would like to see it in Madison Square Garden because storylines.
I agree, and spice it up a bit. Throw a wrench in there, right? I feel like we're always Wembley, Riyadh Kingdom, T-Mobile in Vegas, or MGM Web. I feel like we're just back and forth between Vegas, Vegas, Wembley, and the Riyadh Kingdom. So it's MSG spices it up. I'm always for a different venue, different location.
And the ones they have been doing in New York, the Madison Square Garden, whatever. Cool, you went there. I get, it looked cool watching on TV. I'm sure it was a cool atmosphere. That's cool. Now they're going to Louis Armstrong Stadium, which is like a tennis stadium. I'm all for them going to these interesting locations. But, go to Madison Square Garden. It's one of the best arenas in the world, especially to host a fight. You have the fights. I'm all for the cool locations, without a doubt. But there's something good about I feel like they've done Wembley, they've done the big arenas in the UK, and they are doing Canelo Crawford at Allegiant Stadium. But do a fight at T-Mobile, do a fight at in Madison Square Garden. I want to see more. The weird location is a cool concept, But I also want to see him put more fights on, these legendary arenas that have been hosting fights forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to see what was the last big fight at MSG. Jacobs Golovkin was there. I think it was Andy Ruiz and AJ. That is kind of
Then that
crazy.
creates all the more better storyline. Like the more we talk about this fight, the more it seems like it makes sense, Jerry.
Yeah, Canelo Loma fought Richard Comey, Jorge Linares there. Canelo stopped
Was that in
Rocky
the main
Fielding.
room?
It doesn't say. Doesn't say. Canelo fought Rocky Fielding there. And I mean, not a
Okay,
big
that was main
fight.
room.
Not a big fight. So yeah,
No,
I
yeah,
mean,
but in
it's been a
regards to
minute.
AJ Ruiz, it could happen. I doubt it will, but it could. It could.
My next one for you, bit interesting here is Errol Bud 2. What if Bud gets stopped and he wants to one more fight? Would you like to see him in Errol one more time?
With all due respect to Errol Spence Jr., I think he's done.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he's never going to fight again, but I think the car accidents, just the eye surgery and the whole eye situation. I'm not saying it took a toll on him mentally because I'm not in his mind, but I think it's shown that it took a toll on him physically. If you watch Errol Spence versus Chris Algieri, or I can't recall the guy's name, but if you watch Errol Spence like pre-car accident and post-car accident, I hate to say it, but there is a difference. There is. He fought Danny Garcia. I think that was his first fight since the car accident. Didn't
yeah,
stop him. He fought Ugas, stopped him, but yeah, it wasn't the
rough.
best stoppage. And then he fought Bud, and I think all the stars aligned that night for Bud to have a come out performance. I remember going into that fight, my thought was this could either be a really 50-50 fight or Bud could just go in there and run through him. And that's what ended up happening. And listen, Bud's a great fighter, but I think I'm not saying Bud would lose to a prime Errol Spence, but there's no chance in hell Terrence Crawford would do to Errol Spence there's no chance in hell Terrence Crawford would do what he did to Errol Spence to a prime Errol Spence. I think Errol Spence was past it in 2022 when he fought Ugas. I don't think Spence beats Fundora. I don't think he beats
Yeah.
Majumov. I don't think he beats Tim Zhu. I don't think he beats Murtazaliev. I don't think he beats Ennis. I don't think he beats Ortiz. I don't think he beats anyone in the top 10 in 154. And that pains me to say because Spence was such an iconic figure for so long. And he still is. It's just, I don't even know if Errol Spence can ever fight again.
Pains me to hear that as well, but it's the harsh truth, man. Arrow, if you've seen him, he's looking like he's ready to, I don't know, play linebacker somewhere. The guy's about 190, 200 pounds, and he's enjoying his life. He's enjoying his family. The Bud Crawford fight, it'd be dope to see him right away in the sunset, but it'll probably be another brutal beating for Errol Spence, unfortunately. Let me see. Next up, and Loma's retired, but would you have liked to seen maybe Loma Haney at 140?
Yes. I think,
Okay.
now, we just talked about this earlier. I want to get into a big thing again, but I do think Loma beat Haney. I do think I'm so upset that Loma retired because I think he still has so much to offer, man. Loma is okay, you think he beat Haney, which is fair. Can you admit Loma is a man? Loma's the guy that got me into boxing. Him and Canelo are really the two guys that got me into boxing. I have such a soft spot in my heart for Loma. Maybe that's why I thought he won the Haney fight, but man, Lomachenko. I know you're asking me about Loma Haney too, so I'm not trying to go into a tangent about Lomachenko. But okay, in regards to the rematch at 140, I think it definitely favors Haney a lot more because I do think they didn't even show footage of the weigh-ins, like the official weigh-ins. They tried to hide the footage because Haney looked so drained for that fight. So I do
Yeah.
think Devin Haney was drained a lot. I think at 140, it would have been a pretty similar fight, just with a lot more from Devin Haney. Honestly, I think the first fight, in my opinion, could have gone either way. I think the second fight would have been an 8-4 Haney type of performance, maybe a 9-3. Loma at 140 is too much. He's a natural 126, 130 in my opinion. 135 was even out of his jurisdiction. So I think 140 would be too much. He did it at 135 just because of how skilled of a fighter he is and was. But I think him versus Haney at 140, I think it's an 8-4, 9-3 type of fight for Devin Haney.
Okay, yeah, it's interesting. It's a dope fight. Even at 35, I wanted to see him rematch right now with Loma on the bench and Haney moving further and further from that initial weight they clashed at. It's unlikely, but I wish I seen a little bit more push from both parties and even Top Rank, the promoters, managers on making that rematch. But that ship is sailed. Haney's on doing like Brian Norman and Loma. Just the discrepancy in size is so large.
Yeah.
Back to Loma, if he was able to stay in good shape, and because I think Loma still had a lot left in the tank too. He came off the Kambosos stoppage where Kambosos landed like 40 punches in 11 rounds or something, 10 rounds, which is insane. Loma, Teofimo Lopez. Loma gets the shot at 4 division. He gets the shot at Teo again in another lineal title. Would you have liked to seen it, and who do you favor in that one?
Now, that first fight, I watched back plenty of times, and I thought it was a clear draw. I thought Teofimo, I thought all the rounds that were won in that fight were pretty easy rounds to score. Excuse me. I thought Teofimo easily won the first 5 rounds just based off Loma didn't throw anything. I thought Loma won 6 through 11 pretty clearly again, and I thought Teofimo won 12. It was a closer round, but I thought Teofimo won it.
Yeah.
I feel like something that's not talked about a lot is the cards in that fight. I thought it was a draw. It's like that is unreal. If you go back and watch that fight, Loma dominated for round 6 to 11. Loma absolutely dominated. To only give him 1 round is blasphemy. Judge should be fired. Never judge a fight again. Now their rematch at 140. It's tough because again, I just said 140 is way out of Loma's jurisdiction in my opinion, but there was the big talking point with that first fight was Loma was hurt. His shoulder was not where it needed to be, and that's why he didn't really do anything the first 5 rounds. I think if the fight happened at 140, I think Loma might. I don't want to say he's past it because he gave so much in the Kambosos fight, but say the Loma that fought. I think it's tough because it's kind of hard to gauge where Teofimo's at right now. I think if the Loma that fought Devin Haney fought the Teofimo Lopez that is at 140 right now, Loma would have won.
Wow. That's not a crazy take. Loma, like we both can agree on, he left so much out there. It's not off the table for Loma to beat Teofimo Lopez. I'm not high on Teo right now, neither. He hasn't looked insane to me in a while. But I think Loma will. I'm not betting against Loma in a rematch, man. A lot of these guys he figures out. Like, it takes him time, but once he figures these guys out, he makes them look relatively easy. It's kind of hard to go against Lomachenko in any sort of rematch.
And we've never seen Lomachenko in a rematch. He's never had a rematch in his career. So yeah, and you just said it. His whole thing is he'll read you. After the first 6 rounds, he'll know you and he'll figure you out. So just imagine what a guy like that can do in a rematch. It seems that he would have him figured out from the first bell.
I feel like the best way to kind of gauge it is kind of unfair and his little correlation is but Alexander. I thought the Fury second fight would be closer, but it seemed like he just figured Fury out. I think Loma and Usyk are somewhat comparable despite the discrepancy in size, but he figured Fury out in round 7 of the first fight, and that momentum carried on through the rest of those rounds and on into the second fight. So maybe against Haney, that momentum from rounds 10, 11, it carry on through the second fight. Same with Teo from round 6 to 11. Maybe that momentum carries on through the second fight, and there is no need to take rounds off and be inactive early on, and he has them figured out, and he's ready to go from round 1. So really intriguing. Loma and rematch is a really interesting topic.
Yeah, and one thing you just said, and I had never really thought about it before, but you said in the Haney fight in a rematch, if Loma brought back that same energy from round 10 and round 11, it would be maybe a different fight. And if he brought back that energy from the Teofimo fight from round 6 to round 11, it would be a different fight. What round we didn't mention was round 12. And that is because Lomachenko has a habit of taking off round 12 in close fights.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not. The Devin Haney fight was neck and neck. I remember the commentators, Tim Bradley, said in like halfway through the 12th round, someone's got to go, someone's got to go. No one was taking the fight. You know what I mean? And a fight so close like that, I know it's a risk because you might get knocked down, but you have to go for it in the 12th round to, steal the decision. You know what I mean? Teofimo did a great job of that when he fought Loma. I think Teofimo got worked when Loma started being active, but he outworked Loma in the 12th round. Lomachenko, for some reason, has a habit of taking off the 12th round because maybe he feels like he's ahead. Maybe the corner is telling him, Loma, you're already ahead. Just, keep it like, don't do too much. Don't risk it. You're ahead. You'll win the fight. I don't like that. It is so, being such a fan of Loma, it is so frustrating seeing him fight the top guys and it be such a good competitive fight, and then the 12th round starts and he coasts because he thinks he's ahead. It's frustrating.
Yeah, Loma, I get it. He even came out and said the 12th round of Haney thought he was up. He said, I intentionally took that round off. Be safe. We're going to cruise to the decision. But when you look at the scorecards, we had 8-4, 7-5, 7-5. Those 7-5s turn into draws, and we get a majority draw, right? So it's always been a big issue from Loma. Even the Teo fight, Teo went out there. He threw like 110 punches. Like Teo, he just went out there to take it. But Loma has always lacked the initiative to go out there and snatch
and
the
finish.
12.
Yeah, snatch the fight or finish the fight. He never. We saw a different Loma in the Kambosos fight because he really went out there and finished the fight. But the Richard Comey fight, Loma, it was signature. Loma knocked him down with that huge left hand. It was literally, are you not going to stop this? Are you not going to come in here and stop this fight? And Loma couldn't even stop it himself. Like that, he gained all the aura in the world, and he was like, "You're not gonna come stop it. You're not gonna stop it. Then I'm gonna come stop it." And then didn't do a thing for like 5 rounds. And Loma has always, not always, but it seems that he sometimes lacks the initiative to really take the fight and take it and make it his. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's a hot take, but that's just how it seemed for me, really breaking down Loma.
Yeah. That's all the potential run it back or not matchups I had for you. We touched on some good matchups. I think it was better than talking about Fury Usyk 3 because we all know that you and I and the viewers watching, Fury Usyk 3 is a load of crap. I hope Turki Al-Sheikh reevaluates that. I hope he can kind of catch a hint from the fans' reaction. We don't want this. He doesn't deserve this. I like Turki, but everybody should get 3 chances at Undisputed then. Let the next guy, let Haney fight Brian Norman 2 extra times if he loses. It's unfair. It's clear bias. Turki
has a clear bias for Fury. Turki literally said in his caption, "We're hunting the rabbit." Rabbit's Usyk's nickname. Turki has bias, and it's shown, which I don't love because he's not a promote. He makes these fights. He's not he's not Brian Norman's promoter. He's not Devin Haney's promoter. He's a guy that wants to see a good fight, and he wants to see these 2 guys fight. So I don't always love when he really you can pick a side all you want, but when you're the guy putting on the fight and you're not the direct promoter of one of them, I don't know how I feel about it. But yeah, he has a clear bias towards Fury against Usyk for some odd reason. Fury was the one that had the cut the first time, and it seemed Fury was the one seemingly reluctant to make the, Fury Usyk fight. Usyk takes any fight. After the second Fury fight, Dubois crashed his moment, crashed the interview, and Usyk literally says, "Hey, His Excellency, make the fight." And that's it. I don't know how I don't know. I don't really understand Turkey's bias towards Fury against Usyk.
Yeah, man, but that's maybe another episode. I touched on it a bit on my YouTube, but who is Turkey and what is he doing in boxing, and kind of giving guys a better understanding. But that's pretty much all we have for the Late Stoppage podcast. A short episode turned into over an hour long. This is your guy, Jerry Jig, your co-host. And guys, please show some love to my guy, Ian Green. over on Top Boxing News. The podcast cannot happen without Ian and Top Boxing News. So, guys, please follow, subscribe, whatever you got to do. Like, comment. Top Boxing News is the soul, the heart of this podcast happening, guys. So please show some love to my guy Ian Green.
Appreciate it, Jerry. And yes, guys, keep tuning into the podcast. We love putting this on. Jerry, I truly enjoy filming these episodes. It's a pleasure of mine. And yeah, guys, just keep tuning in.
And our next one, what's today? Thursday. Hopefully we can get one record Saturday, get one up on Monday for you guys. So, well, I'll let you guys know on TikTok. Make sure you guys go follow me on TikTok. Follow Ian on Instagram, TikTok. Both of us will see you guys in the next episode 4.